Welcome to the NBA Daily, presented by Amazon Prime for March 4th, 2026. I'm Dave DuFour here with Es Baraheni. Coming up, the Cavs get one back on the Pistons. The Raptors just do not have it. And Tony Jones is here to talk about the Sixers after getting crushed by Wemby and the Spurs. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, S. What's up, buddy?
Good morning. Yeah, man, living the dream, as always.
Yeah? Watching basketball for a living, not too bad.
Not too bad.
Not too bad. Yeah. You should do it in a place that has better weather than Toronto, though, man. I highly recommend it. I got a tan, and it's the first week of March. Very good. Yeah, things are great.
We did add some sunlight, though, this week, right? Daylight savings is out the window. We added an hour of sunlight.
We will add it, right? That's coming up.
I think
I don't know. Are we on the same schedule?
I have no idea.
It's a silly concept. If anybody wants to do anything about that, please, call your senator.
I agree.
Low on the list of things to do, but hey, yes. Throw that one in there.
Yes.
Hey, we got to talk about the Cavs. They get one back on the Pistons, 113-109. This time they don't have to play them without their two starting guards. Only Donovan Mitchell missing the game last night. So James Harden versus the Pistons. What was your biggest takeaway from the game, man?
Man, it's the Pistons, really, from the Pistons side of things. Cade Cunningham was 4 of 16 in this game, and he was 4 of 8 in the first half. He ended up being 4 of 16. I think when he isn't able to get things going offensively, the offense struggles immensely for this Pistons team. And it's part of what we talked about when it comes to the playoffs for them, right? Like, how are they able to counter a second option for Cade Cunningham and for the rest of the roster? Because when it isn't Cade, who else is it going to be? And tonight, I don't think they found a consistent. I mean, Jalen Duren was awesome in this game. He had 24 and 14, but it's not enough when you're going up against the Cavs' firepower, even without Donovan Mitchell.
Well, especially with the length that the Cavs can throw out there defensively. They just don't have the Pistons don't have the shooting to withstand the nights where Cade Cunningham is not the best offensive player on the court.
Yeah.
And 4 of 16, 0 of 8 in the second half, didn't score. Or he went to the free throw line. Like, he shot his first 2 free throws close to the end of the game. But again, like, he needs to get downhill more often when the shot's not falling. But ultimately, they have to figure out who's going to help space the floor around that guy. I mean, it's Duren gets his. He's going to hit the glass. He gets some on his own. There's nobody else out there creating outside of Cade. And if the shot's not falling, he's not as scary. All of a sudden, Asar Thompson, look, he only took 1 3 and he was wide open for it, right?
Yeah.
We're going to see much more of that. The 7 of 11 from the field, that's all fine and good. But those sort of shots are just going to dry up in the playoffs.
I will say, I think Asar is going to be really important for this Pistons team in the playoffs because he's so much
one way or the other.
Yeah, totally. And like, he's so much a part of like forcing turnovers. You talk about the 3-point margin. The fact that they can't shoot threes means they have to win the turnover battle, means they have to win the transition battle, means they have to win the offensive glass. And so there's a couple of guys that are important to that. One, Isaiah Stewart, who just came back tonight. And 2, I think it's Asar Thompson, who can force turnovers for them. You saw that turnover late in the clutch situation where he got the steal, kind of got out in transition as well. What he is able to bring to this team, especially in a postseason setting, is going to make or break this Pistons. Truthfully, their chances of making a run. Yeah.
Look, they took 24 threes. They hit 9 of them.
Yeah.
That's 22 fewer threes than the Cavs took.
Math battle, man.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing that I think they've got to worry about. Let's swing it to the Cavs. I think the story of the game, Dennis Schroeder coming off the bench, 15 points. You texted me at one point when we were watching. You're like, Dennis Schroeder's going to win them a playoff game. And I want you to say
series.
that on the podcast. Did you say series?
I said series.
I thought you said game. I was trying to be gracious to you.
No, look, I know they have Honeymoon Harden right now.
Yeah.
But underrated is Honeymoon Schroeder.
That's right.
I mean, can we talk like
the Pistons
last year?
Wish they had that guy.
Exactly. Last year, the Pistons had him in that postseason run. He was huge for them in that Knicks series. If you think about like before that, the Raptors, at least to start the year, Schroeder was a big part of what they were doing.
Yeah.
Dennis Schroeder, for the first like 3 or 4 months of whenever he's on a new team, he just ignites something in whatever the team requires, whether it's point of attack defense, whether it's getting to the line. And truthfully, if they are going to end up resting Donovan Mitchell or kind of nursing James Harden with this thumb thing for the rest of the year. Having Schroeder as a backup that's just going to step in and be FIBA Schroeder is not a bad deal.
Hey, listen, if I'm the Pistons, I've got a little bit of Schroeder Freud right now.
Nice.
Watching him cook. Sorry, I had to get that one in there. Okay, we got to talk Raps. They got smoked by the Knicks. It was close late.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what happened. I had to go back and rewatch the end of this game because I don't know, it was a weird league pass night and the game went off for me. I had to reload the app, it's always an app. And it was a 4-point game and I turned it back on.
Yeah.
And it was over. What happens for this team down the stretch of games where they just can't seem to put together any kind of offense outside of the guys that you do not want to shooting?
Yeah, it's a thing against good teams, especially for this Raptors team. They fall to 4-16 against the top 10 teams in the NBA. They've lost 5 of their last 6 against these teams and 14 of their last 15 against the top 10 teams in the NBA. They have a problem when it comes to beating good teams. Mm-hmm. It's just the point of the fact. And if you look at their numbers, so overall, the Raptors are 15th offensively, 7th defensively. Against those top 10 teams, they're 24th offensively, 10th defensively. And to your point about execution in the clutch, I just don't think they have what it takes to score against these good teams in clutch situations. It's a lot of Brandon Ingram. It's a lot of over-reliance on him in isolation situations to score for them. And overall, I thought they had a lot of mistakes in this one, both defensively and in the turnover battle. You talked about the margins. I mean, to a lesser degree, the Raptors have similar issues when it comes to the margins because they're not a good three-point shooting team. And so they have to win the turnover battle. They have to get out in transition. They have to crash the offensive glass. And I just repeated that twice in 7 minutes because it applies to the Pistons and it applies to the Raptors. So this is a team that's struggling to beat good teams, truthfully, because against good teams, it doesn't matter if you have one great defender in Scotty Barnes. Mm-hmm. You need to have multiple great defenders.
But also, that's a harder way to win, especially against the good teams. They don't turn the ball over as much. They're better at rebounding. They usually shoot it better. Yeah. And so those opportunities just aren't there. And if you are a team that is used to taking risks, you do run the risk of getting into foul trouble. Or just, having a disadvantage, because you jump a steal and you miss.
Now, look, I will say that taking care of business against bad teams and mid-tier teams, that's important, especially for a team that has bucked expectations, as we've talked about. Gives me big vibes of the 2013, 2014 Raptors. If you remember them, they had that big midseason turnaround. It was the first year of Kyle and DeMar. They were also 5-17 against the top 10 teams in the NBA. So very similarly, couldn't beat the good teams, took care of business against the worst teams in the NBA. So I wonder if that's just and that part of the life cycle.
Winning a title in 2019. Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm not trying to say that because I don't think the CBA and cap environment today can allow them to keep a team from 2014 to 2020. Not possible.
Definitely not. With the Knicks, we're not really learning much about this team until we get to the playoffs. Sure. It's more just it's consistency. Okay. They get the big win against the Spurs. They handle business against the Raptors. Yeah. What's it look like over the course of the next 5-6 weeks? What do their losses look like? I think is going to be the big question with them. Is there anything that you saw out of them that stood out to you that you thought was a positive for the Knicks moving forward?
I just think they're deeper now. I really like Mohamed Diawara and I like Jose Alvarado for them. I'm not sure how much they're going to end up playing in the playoffs, but those are guys who can make shots. I think Alvarado's
going to get run. I mean, his defense at the point of attack, I think, is going to be important.
Yeah, I think those are probably back of your rotation type of guys, but overall, I think those guys can give you something in the playoffs. And so they're a little bit deeper. Shamet had a really good game tonight. And I do think Karl Anthony Towns is playing better basketball as of late. And he is going to make or break this Knicks team this season. Of course, we know what Jalen Brunson can do in the playoffs, but Cat playing better equals the Knicks playing better. And that's the recipe for this team moving forward. I will say we got a chance to watch a lot of Eastern Conference playoff teams tonight.
Yeah.
Does anything change? I know one game and
Cavs,
one night.
Man, I feel good about the Cavs, but I have since they made all the moves really at the deadline. It wasn't just the Harden trade. I think getting Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder is going to be huge for them. We've talked about how they just had no bench.
Yeah.
there was no one coming off the bench that you could trust.
And Jalen Tyson, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Jalen Tyson. I mean, I was about to say found money, but I mean, they drafted the guy. He has been excellent. Elite defender, maybe, and might be an elite shooter, has been this season, has been very good. And then what James Harden's done for Sam Merrill, I think that the floor is going to be so open for that guy. Playoff time, I think that they're going to have lineup combinations we haven't thought about yet, whether that's just Mobley at the 5 or just Jared Allen at the 5 with Tyson and Merrill.
It's worth noting, by the way, Jared Allen did get hurt in this game.
Yeah.
Knee to knee, didn't come back. We'll see if that ends up being a thing for the rest of the season. Yeah.
But yeah, I do think I don't know. They made the moves that make them what could be a powerhouse offensive playoff team. The defense, with them, it gets tricky because sometimes they just tend to get soft come playoff time. It feels, but offensively, I do think that they're going to score.
I do like this matchup for them against the Pistons. And if they end up playing the Pistons in the playoffs, I kind of like the Cavs in that series just because of, again, offensively, they can score.
Offensive consistency it's the hardest thing about the playoffs, right? Like you get into that half court game, and do you trust James Harden and Donovan Mitchell or just Cade Cunningham? And I think that's a question that the Pistons, this is what they have to answer. It's part of the process. Yeah. Hey, speaking of answering questions, Charlotte Hornets have been, I don't know, they've been doing pretty well on the test, I think, lately. They've moved to 500, now 31-31 on the season. They beat the Mavericks last night pretty easily by 27 points. It's kind of what they do now, S.
Yes, they do.
Talk about the run that they've been on here lately. What's the record that you were just telling me?
So look, January 21st, they were 12 games under 500. They were 16-28. They were 12th in the Eastern Conference. They have now went 15-3 since and are now 31-31 in 9th in the Eastern Conference. So they've jumped up a few spots. I think they have a chance to get up to 6th. I know we've kind of talked about this, but Philly obviously struggled tonight against the Spurs. Orlando is dealing with injuries. Miami is basically like a whatever team.
You don't know what they're doing.
You don't know what you're going to get. Yeah. Exactly. So I truthfully think the Hornets can make a run here. And with the way that they're playing, I don't know if I'm like a top team in the Eastern Conference. I want to face that in the playoffs.
I'd be scared. I mean, again, look, I keep picking on the Pistons just because of the offensive stuff. And I do think, they've clearly been the best team in the East this season. But it would be scary, I think, if I was Detroit to have to face the Hornets with the way that they've been playing, because let's not act like they haven't been playing defense, right? They have been playing excellent defense.
Yeah. No, they have a top 2 offense in that stretch that I just mentioned and a top 10 defense. So they're locking up as well. Like that, right. We have to give them credit. And also, obviously, that starting 5, we mentioned this a couple nights ago, but 18-2 when their starting 5 is fully healthy. It's a good team, man. I
mean, look, again, not saying they're going to win first round playoffs,
but it would be entertaining.
They're going to win a game. Yeah, for sure. They're not going to get swept. And we can hang that banner for this team. They've been bad for a long time. All right, guys, stick around after the break. We got Tony Jones here to talk about how sad the Sixers are right now and when Joel Embiid is going to come back and save the day. Oh, man. Tony Jones is joining us to talk about the Sixers, a man who's been haunted by French centers for, I don't know, at least the last decade. Tony, 40 points.
Haunted is crazy.
40-point blowout.
Haunted is crazy.
Thanks to Wemby and the Spurs. And Wemby barely did anything, man. Not a lot you can take away from a game that didn't have Joel Embiid. And, there's all these reasons that we can make for the Sixers getting blown out by 40 points. But at the end of the day, it's a 40-point loss at home, man.
Well, I mean, and it's not the first 40-point loss at home of the season for the Sixers. They are now 16-16 at home. So they have been decidedly a better road team than they have been a home team this season. They just came out without a lot of energy. It looked like their legs got drained a little bit in Boston. That was kind of a knockdown drag out that kind of got away from them late, but they had chances to kind of steal that one. And I mean, this is the thing right now. Every game that Joel Embiid doesn't play, you're putting that much more pressure and responsibility on Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe, because without Joel Embiid in the lineup, those are the only two guys that can create shots and create offense on a regular basis. So, the Sixers are in a bad spot. They're in a bad place. The schedule's not kind to them. Mm-hmm. I think more importantly, the schedule is kind to some of the teams that are around them. Mm-hmm. And, to me, the solution for me right now is that, they have to get healthy and they have to stay healthy if they're going to keep a top 6 spot in the Eastern Conference.
Feels like they're always stuck between a rock and a hard place when it comes to Joel Embiid, because they clearly need him to win every single night. And yet you don't want to rush him back from injuries, given his injury history. And so what's the timeline for Embiid to come back here after that strain and get back to playing basketball for the Sixers?
The irony of this is they didn't need him early in the season to win every night, because they were playing extremely well without him. Mm-hmm. And the irony to that is, we didn't know how Joel was going to be. Like, we didn't know whether Joel was going to be washed or anything. And so when he came back and he's actually Joel Embiid again, the irony of him being Joel Embiid again is that he becomes a security blanket for the remainder of the roster. So now that you take away the security blanket, now the rest of the roster looks like a roster that really misses Joel Embiid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, so it wasn't that way earlier in the season, but now it is that way now, especially because the attrition of the season is caught up with the rest of the roster. I think in October and November and December, your legs are still fresh. You can go out and you can play hard and you can play with gusto. And
you can catch teams on any given night in October, November too.
On any given night. Yeah. But now, we're in March and teams are fighting for stuff. And you need your guys. So, Embiid's going to miss tomorrow night against the Utah Jazz with the strained oblique that he suffered. That he suffered in a win over the Miami Heat last week. And, they're going to reevaluate him following that. But, they need him back, because after the Utah Jazz, you're at Atlanta, who you haven't beaten this season. Mm-hmm. You're at the Cleveland Cavaliers, who you haven't beaten this season. You're home on a back-to-back against the Memphis Grizzlies. Presumably, Joel Embiid doesn't play that game because he doesn't play in back-to-backs. And then you're at the Detroit Pistons, who you haven't beaten this season. The schedule is not kind to the Philadelphia 76ers.
Kind of reminds me of the Raptors.
A little bit. Yeah. And you got the Charlotte Hornets just flying up the standings, breathing down their neck, and they're younger and can score and defend. I mean, I think it is scary time for the Sixers and their playoff hopes. I mean, how do they make do if Joel's gonna miss any of these big games coming up? I mean, I guess there is no making do.
Well, I mean, you have to make do by, Tyrese Maxey going out and kind of proverbially emptying the clip. Mm-hmm. That's what happened against Boston. You look at Boston, and I thought, you see a lot on social media. Oh my God, Tyrese Maxey's, he shot 12 for 34 from the field against Boston. How else were they going to win? How else are you going to give yourself a chance?
Yeah, totally.
Especially without Embiid on the floor. So, every game that Embiid doesn't play, this falls on Maxey and it falls on VJ Edgecombe. And speaking of falls, VJ Edgecombe suffered a nasty one right before half, and he missed the remainder of the game with lower back soreness. So, that presumably puts the status of, tomorrow night for him in jeopardy, or at least in question. And even if he doesn't play, how loose is he going to be with the lower back that, he fell on?
Yeah. Hey, I know you didn't include them in the list of tough games. Utah is not a bad team, right? They've been in it against a lot of good teams here lately and late. And even without Jaren Jackson and Lauri Markkanen and all the guys that have been sitting out. So it's not even Utah. You can't just put that one in the win column.
The Jazz are forcing themselves to tank.
100%.
Right.
If the Jazz wanted to be a play-in team this year, they could be a play-in team this year rather easily. And, my thing for, Philly, if they play Keontae George, that's not an easy game tomorrow night. So, we'll see if the Jazz play Keontae George. But, my feeling with the Jazz is the game that they really need to lose this week isn't tomorrow night. It's Thursday.
Dave, do you like that?
Wizards.
Do you like that he said the game that they really need to lose? Dave hates the tank race, by the way.
I'm out on tanking.
I know you hate the tank race, man. But listen, man, I think it's fascinating. It's fascinating on the other end. Like, listen, the Sixers need to win tomorrow night because they're a half a game above the Orlando Magic. They're a half a game above the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat have another game this week in hand against the Brooklyn Nets. So if the Sixers don't win tomorrow night,
they could be eighth.
They could be eighth really quickly. So just like the Sixers need to win tomorrow night, the Jazz need to lose on Thursday night. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see exactly, how the Jazz play it, whether they do play Keontae. Because if they do play Keontae, as we saw Monday night against the Denver Nuggets,
could be trouble.
They're not an easy mark.
Yeah, no.
For the record, Tony did try to tell me about Keontae George, and I didn't listen.
So I asked Dave about Keontae George, and I said, "Would you think Keontae George is more Cam Thomas or Damian Lillard?" At the start of the season,
I said Cam Thomas.
He did say
Cam Thomas. See, a lot of this is funny that you say that, but a lot of this is mental, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you think Cam Thomas reacts if Will Hardy benches him?
That's a good point.
And doesn't start him for the last 25 games of the season. Which way does Cam Thomas go?
Yeah.
He goes this way. He did that to Keontae last year, benched him for the last 25 games of the season, said, if you're not going to play any defense whatsoever, if you're not going to pass the ball, then I'm not going to play you. And Keontae said, okay, watch this, and spent every single day in the facility working with coaches.
That's a really great point. Yeah.
Probably took one of the bigger leaps that I've ever seen a player take.
Yeah, massive.
From 1 year to the next.
Speaking of massive, you got eyes on Wemby at the game last night. He only took 5 shots and he dominated this game. What is that like? I mean, like you've watched a lot of basketball and you've covered a lot of really good big men, Rudy Gobert, Joel Embiid. What's it like being in the building for this?
It's kind of surreal to watch a guy just dominate a game without scoring a point. I've seen Rudy Gobert do it, but it's different than what Wemby does.
Yeah.
Because Wemby plays all over the floor. I've seen Rudy Gobert do it in terms of blocking shots, protecting the rim, and, rebounding. One of my most vivid Rudy Gobert memories is in his second year when they played at Memphis, and Memphis was really good at the time. And he dominated all NBA level Marc Gasol, had like 5 points, but he had like 17 rebounds, 5-6 block shots. And that was the game where everybody knew that the Jazz had to trade Enes Kanter, no matter what. So, I saw that game, but like I saw Wemby tonight. He's blocking shots. He's recovering the block shots like he's Bill Russell. He's dribbling the ball down the floor. He's catching people in the corner for threes, just playing all over the place. And, the points of the game where he's shooting, it's like, all right, I'm wide open. I'll just go ahead and take this shot. Or I'm wide open, or I'll take this dunk. Or, this guy's challenging me. Let me just back him up one time off the dribble and hit a 3, which is what he did to Andre Drummond. You know, but the block shots, the rim protection, there were, you know, he had 6 blocks?
Yeah.
There were at least 5 to 7 other times where guys went into the lane, saw Wemby, and just dribbled the ball back out.
VJ Edgecombe had one that should turn into a meme. I mean, it was just, nope, not going to do this one.
Yeah, there's Wemby.
Silent killers. Yeah.
Let's start again.
Well, and you know, you brought up Gobert, and Gobert was like this too. The rim deterrence is as much of a thing as the blocks and you know, rebounds.
Yeah. It's the rim deterrence, and the thing that, you know, Gobert never had that Wemby has now. He's got like 6 POA defenders on this team.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Like Steph Castle, De'Aaron Fox, Dylan Harper works hard, Carter Bryant. I mean, these guys are legitimately point of attack defenders, whereas like there were so many possessions where Maxey had to go into multiple actions just to get a foot in the lane. And then when he gets the foot in the lane, oh my God, there's Wemby.
And then Devin Vassell's jumping all the passing lanes and turning those into buckets.
Jumping the passing lanes. Yeah. Julian Champagnie is, you know, has been a terrific defender. They didn't even have Harrison Barnes tonight.
Yeah.
Right.
Iron Man, I mean, lost the streak. Do you think they could win the chip this year, Tony?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. This is not to say they will, because, you know, Oklahoma City's really good. Denver's really good. I think the Boston Celtics are really good. I think the Detroit Pistons are really good. And speaking of really good, I think the Cleveland Cavaliers are really good right now. I think James Harden has done some things to unlock Cleveland that I think is going to really, really help them in playoff time.
That's perfect. We were just talking about
where they were last year.
Yeah, we were just talking about how much it opens up a lot of options for them. And then Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis. I mean,
yeah.
Playoffs going to be fun, Tony.
I mean, listen, before they made this trade, you watch how hard Sam Merrill had to work to get his shot off, right? You know, running around, you know, working screens with the big, playing catch with the big, doing DHOs with the big, then coming off and taking shots. I saw multiple times where Sam Merrill just took catch and shoot threes.
That's it.
Never have never seen that with him in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's the James Harden effect. He's one of the best passers of this era and maybe of all time. And, you know, and I think that he fits really well with this Cleveland team because this Cleveland team has Donovan Mitchell that's going to go out and score 30. They don't need him to go out and score 30.
Right. Yeah. They just need somebody to help keep the offense organized when Donovan Mitchell's not out there. Tony Jones, guys, go and read him over at The Athletic. Thank you, Tony, for hanging out with us. Thanks.
I had nothing left to do after this game.
I don't think we probably could have recorded during the fourth quarter and saved you know,
we could have done it
time
live
after the game.
We could have done it live. Oh my God, another dunk.
For Tony Jones and Es Baraheni, I'm Dave DuFour, and this has been the NBA Daily. Thanks for hanging out with us.